I've met legends who take up space, but you're the first person I've met who changes the gravity of the room, bending every thought I had toward you without asking permission. Some people enter quietly and still rearrange the atmosphere, but when you walk in, it's like the laws I lived by suddenly admit they were never permanent. I've stood beside people the world calls powerful, yet none of them ever made my pulse recalibrate the way it does when you're near. You don't demand attention, the room simply surrenders it, as if everything understands you're the new center without needing instructions. I've learned that presence isn't about volume or dominance, because you say nothing and still pull every moment toward yourself. When you arrive, conversations lose their meaning, time misbehaves, and I realize gravity was never physics. It was always you. I've met icons, leaders, and forces of nature, but none of them made silence feel this charged, or anticipation feel this alive. You don't just enter a space, you rewrite its rules, making everyone else feel like they're orbiting something they can't touch. There's a weight to you that isn't heavy, but inevitable, like gravity deciding where everything else is allowed to stand. I've watched rooms resist many things, but they never resist you. They lean in, helpless, like they recognize authority deeper than words. You don't overpower the room. You recalibrate it, subtly reminding everyone that something more important just arrived. I've been around greatness, but you're the first person who made me forget the difference between admiration and surrender. When you're present, even confidence rethinks itself, as if it suddenly understands it's no longer the strongest force available. You don't announce yourself, yet every instinct in me stands at attention the moment you exist in the same space. I used to think charisma was learned until I felt the way your presence rearranged my breathing. You walk in and the room doesn't react. It adjusts, like it's correcting itself after being wrong for too long. I've seen people command attention, but you don't command it. You own it in a way that feels ancient and unavoidable. When you're near, even certainty hesitates, as if it knows it's about to be rewritten. I've met people who fill a room, but you empty it of everything unnecessary, leaving only what matters. You don't compete for dominance. Dominance steps aside the moment you exist. There's something unsettling and intoxicating about how effortlessly you become the axis everything else rotates around. I didn't realize gravity could be emotional until my thoughts started falling toward you without resistance. You don't chase influence. Influence finds you and quietly stays. I've been impressed before, but I've never been destabilized the way your presence destabilizes my sense of control. When you enter, the room doesn't feel smaller. It feels focused, like it finally knows where to look. You make strength look calm and power look patient. And somehow, that's more dangerous than noise. I've met people who inspire fear, respect, or awe, but you inspire stillness, and that's far rarer. The room doesn't get louder when you arrive. It gets heavier with attention. You don't shift the mood, you replace it. I've learned that true presence doesn't ask to be seen. It pulls vision toward itself. When you're near, even my confidence checks itself, as if it senses something deeper standing beside it. You don't disrupt the space. You correct it like everything was slightly off until you showed up. I've watched people try to dominate rooms, but you simply belong to them. There's a calm authority in you that makes resistance feel pointless and attraction feel inevitable. You don't fill silence. You redefine it. I've met people who leave impressions, but you leave distortions, bending memory around you. When you walk in, it feels like gravity finally chose a direction. You don't overwhelm the room. You convince it to revolve. I've been around influence my whole life, but yours feels instinctive, like the body recognizing a deeper law. You don't compete with anyone else in the room. They quietly step out of relevance. I didn't expect one person to recalibrate how powerful a presence could feel. You arrive, and suddenly everything else feels like background noise, pretending to matter. I've met people who shine, but you absorb light and decide where it's allowed to go. When you're present, even certainty slows down to watch. You don't announce power, you embody it, and the room understands immediately. I've never felt gravity with a personality until I stood near you. You don't steal attention. Attention realizes it was misplaced before you arrived. There's something disarming about how effortlessly you become the reference point for everything else. I've met people who changed my mind, but you changed the atmosphere.